Now, for a PG-13, 12 rated movie, this is really dark. I mean, but that is nothing on a par with how dark this movie is. How this got away with being a 12 certificate, I've got no idea. I was quite shocked when I was watching it in the cinema. We went and saw it the Dark Knight in the IMAX in London, and it was one of the best cinematic experiences I've ever had. The gap in terms of quality between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight isn't as great as everybody lets out. Although The Dark Knight is a better movie, its structure is somewhat looser. It is a bit messy at times. I mean, it does, although each individual set piece is fine, by the time you get to the end with the two ferries, it's kind of one set piece too many, if you see what I mean. That said, it's 2.5 hours long. It's the fastest 2.5 hours I've ever had in a cinema. Things I really like about it: it is dark. It is a crime film on first and a comic book movie second. I mean, and because it's a comic book movie, you're allowed to have certain suspensions of belief in terms of the Joker being able to think, 10 steps, 10 days ahead of the police as to what they're going to do. It's also the character of the Joker. The Joker is this genius. He's also psychotic. Heath Ledger's performance has already gone down in popular culture as one of the greatest, not so much comic book performances, but just one of the greatest performances of all time in general. You find it a shame that Heath Ledger's no longer doing any work because, he has reached the peak of his performance. Look at him in Brokeback Mountain. Now, I actually think Brokeback Mountain is an incredibly overrated movie, but his performance in it is very good. Considering I was actually quite sceptical when they actually announced Heath Ledger as the Joker, he kind of not only proved everybody wrong, but he went out with flying colours. His legacy is as the Joker. He doesn't even physically look like Heath Ledger, if you see what I mean. Even when he doesn't have the makeup on and he's still got the scarring on his face when he's dressed as the policeman, he still doesn't look like Heath Ledger. He is the Joker. Anyone saying that he got the Oscar just because he died and it was a sympathy vote is just cold-hearted. It is definitely worthy of every heap of praise it has gotten, and it is just as good as everybody has said it is. And because it is that good, it means a lot of the other characters are actually oddly sidelined. Everyone in this movie embodies their characters. Oldman as Gordon is just superb. Gary Oldman made his career playing villains, and to play this wholesome, completely moral character is something completely different than, kind of most of what he's done. Obviously he's played Gordon before, but Gordon is a far more prominent character in this one. Everybody gets around the same amount of time, and everybody is delved into quite a fair bit. Everyone has their moment to shine. I honestly think actually that the most engaging story in it is the Two-Face stuff. My friend David included had issues with adding on another supervillain. In terms of the story, in terms of the Joker creating this deliberate level of, nigh on, stratospheric level of chaos within Gotham City, it seemed only natural for the story to progress for him to eventually, create the birth of Two-Face. If you've read Batman The Long Halloween and its sequel, Batman Dark Victory, you can see that they've taken a hell of a lot of Dent's character, especially from The Long Halloween. If you look at Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent and you look at him as Two-Face, it's two different performances. Although Heath Ledger does get the limelight, you have to remember that this is an ensemble piece. Gary Oldman, like I say, is fantastic. Christian Bale kind of takes a back seat considering everybody else is that good, but he is still perfectly fine despite the fact that his Batman voice is really, really irritating. Main greatness of The Dark Knight is that everybody involved, not just Heath Ledger, has embodied their characters to the extent it's not Christian Bale as Batman, he is Batman. It's not Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon, he is Gordon. It's not Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent, he is Harvey Dent. When you're invested in a movie that much based purely on the performances of the people involved, you're onto a winner. It just helps that it's got some very, very well done set pieces in it. Anyway, in terms of following basic narrative structure, things happen at the beginning of a movie that eventually lead to events towards the end of the film. If you think about that, the whole catalyst for everything that happens in this movie is the bank robbery at the opening. It's beautifully shot by Wally Pfister. He deserves every accolade put upon him. The film in terms of its look, looks amazing. Chris and Jonathan together are very, very good in terms of their writing. It's quite exciting to know that Jonathan Nolan has finished the script for Batman 3. The action scenes are better as well. The action scenes are better done. done. It is a bit too long. It does need some trimming here and there, but it's never dull either. That's the thing. I honestly cannot say enough good things, and from what I hear, Inception is better. Now, how that can possibly be, I don't know. But if The Dark Knight is the culmination of this creative team that have worked together since Memento, if this is the culmination of all their efforts from Memento through to the birth of a film as great as The Dark Knight, and it is a great film, it is a masterpiece, it is one of my favourite films of the last decade, and if Inception is better, I have much higher hopes for Batman 3 than I ever thought I would have done. Any superhero movie that has a 3 on the end of it has generally not been very good. Most superhero films hit their peak at the second one. If you look at Batman Forever, if you look at Superman 3, if you look at X-Men 3, if you look at any of these other ones, I mean, they're generally just not as good. Sometimes you do get a threequel which is better than, well, not better, but is still as good as the other ones. Toy Story 3, I haven't seen Toy Story 3, but from what I hear, it is excellent. The Bourne Ultimatum is the best of all the Bourne movies. They're also going to be having Batman 3 as the final part of all of their Batman saga. You kind of, there's going to be closure in the whole thing. Anyway, I digress. I mean, The Dark Knight is the best superhero movie ever made. It is the best Christopher Nolan movie he's ever made. As a crime movie, it works. As a superhero movie, it works. If I could give it 6 out of 5, I would. I can't. Therefore, it gets a full 5 out of 5. It is a masterpiece. It is absolutely, absolutely amazing. That's the end of my rant. I will be back on here to review Inception once it's out. The hype for The Dark Knight was enormous. It delivered. It was every bit as good as I thought it would be. Let's hope that Inception is just as good as everyone makes it out to be. Anyway, ciao.